How you doing, folks? My name's Jesse. Vlog entry number 44, October 2nd. What have I been working on? Well, I got an interesting gig coming up. I've been playing bass with my buddy Rob and his band, the Nightcrawlers, and we had a gig on the books for Saturday, October 4th, from 5:30 to 8 or something like that. And, okay, that's cool. Same set, no problem. Well, we got a call a couple days ago, in fact, saying that the date was wrong. It was supposed to be Friday, not Saturday. And can we still make it? Well, turns out the guitar player can't make it, which means I got bumped up to guitar and we had to hire a bass player. So we've done that, which means I've been woodshedding for the last couple days, just trying to get enough to cover, because the interesting thing, I know the songs, but like playing them on guitar, I haven't played them on guitar in a while. Plus, my buddy Rob, the ones he sings, he changes the keys on, so it's like, all right, Big River, but we're doing it in G, I'm screwing it up already. Just trying to learn, so we got, and I got to sing that one, and I sort of remember the words. um, you know, it's going to be loosey-goosey. There's no getting around it. But it's not a high-pressure gig, so we're just going to do the best we can, have fun, and hope it works. And if they don't like it, I guess they'll never hire us back. But, Chuck Berry, Living in the USA. Close as it's going to get. So that's what's coming down the pike. Now, here's the thing. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I really haven't had time to put together the videos the way I want. But I'm trying to stay true to my promise to myself, which is one a week. So the stupid shootouts are still coming. Unfortunately, those take more time because you make a backing track. You got stuff to rehearse. It takes me a while to get things under my fingers. So I just thought I'd pull out a guitar that I haven't shown you and show it to you and say, hey, check this out. So here we go. Duesenberg Starplayer Special. I wanted to try one out, or try a Duesenberg. I've never tried a Duesenberg out. And this one popped up a while back on Guitar Center at a decent price. Haven't played it much. I took it to band practice once. One of the problems I have is this pot. Now I sprayed it out and it was good for a while, but I just pulled it out of the case and it's like I never did anything with it. 25 or 25 and a half inch scale. Two humbuckers that with a I don't like the coil split on this. There's something like there's a wet blanket over it or something like that. Now, here's the thing. Maybe it sounds different when it's being recorded. Maybe it sounds different in a live situation. I don't know. It didn't really do it for me. The metal appointments are interesting. This thing kind of gets in my way a little bit. A little bit of a carve on it. I'm not sure what the body wood is. Maple neck. Kind of a thick C shape. Apparently they just made the specials for US release. Disputes about where it's made. I've read things that said that the parts were made in Korea and they were assembled in Germany. I've read the parts were made in Korea and they were assembled in Croatia. It's got a 2-bolt neck, which I think is interesting. Kind of reminds me of a Taylor. I guess the Taylor neck joint. I took it to, I don't know if I told you this. I took it to band practice once. It was okay. It sounded all right. Kind of polite, I guess. It's a little heavy. And again, this thing, I think it was made there's no serial number on it or anything like that to determine the date. I haven't checked the pod codes. I'm not even sure if the pod codes would tell you anything. My guess is early 2000s, like maybe 2004 or something like that. So at this point, it's almost a 20-year-old instrument. I gotta play Ride Captain Ride tomorrow. It's a cool song. This is it's a cool song, but the chord changes are really interesting. And then I'm going to be doing a lot of that. Pretending I know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm going to hang on to this. It's all right. But I don't know. I don't know if it blows my skirt up or anything. And it makes me think because there's some discussion about country of origin in production and the perception of that. Because, like the issue about, where was this made? And there was some debate online, and I've seen some videos lately that have been talking about how important is the country of origin? How important is the OEM maker in this? And I'm just a schmuck with a bunch of guitars, so my opinion shouldn't be held any more valuable than anybody else's. But I've been doing this a while, and so I have an opinion about it. And my opinion is this: the value of anything that we have is tied to the story that goes with it, right? An SG is an SG unless it was Tony Iommi's SG. A Strat is just a Strat unless it was Jimi Hendrix's Strat. Now, the ironic thing is we think it has more value because it belonged to those people or they used them to make their music out of, but the music was in them, not in the instrument. But the story is what holds the value, and they're shared stories that we all have. So, does it matter if a body was cut out on a CNC machine in Korea as opposed to a CNC machine in Nashville? Probably not. As long as it's quality wood and things were programmed correctly, it's not going to matter in terms of the construction, but we all decide on the value of something, right? We as a collective have decided that Gibson instruments have a value to them, regardless of whether their quality is better or worse than something that was made overseas. And therefore, if you're going to spend your money, you got to think about that, because unless you're going to have it all buried with you, at some point it's going to leave your hands and go to somebody else's. And wouldn't you like to get back a reasonable part of what you've invested in it? Now, I'm not a money guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that's important. And so I think it is important to know where your instruments are being made, and I think it is important because the provenance establishes the value, because the provenance is the story. Now, the story can change over time. I mean, I remember in the mid 80s, Wayne Margolot, my high school driver's ed teacher, found out I played guitar. I may have told this story before. And he and I had a long conversation about guitars. He claims that he knew not Don Henley, but the other guy. The guy who died. Shoot. Name escapes me. I'll remember it and I'll put it here. He knew him in California in the 70s, he said, or in the late 60s or early 70s. How much of that was true, I don't know. But one of the things he said was that back in those days, people thought that Gibson guitars were the guitars that really held their value, and that Fenders were cheap because they were cheaply constructed, because the parts were interchangeable. And compared to a Gibson, you didn't necessarily need a craftsman, putting fancy binding on a telly. They were much more workman's tools. But that story has changed over time as the scarcity of those instruments has increased, as people look back fondly on those days of American industrialism and the beginnings of rock and roll and modern music, and we watch those grainy films that they shot in Fullerton in the 1950s on YouTube, and we're like, yeah, that was back in the day. And so a Fender broadcaster can get 5 figures, on the market. So I think it's important to know where the instruments are made. I think it's important to think about that when you're buying instruments, if the value means something to you. My 2 cents for what they're worth. Hope you're doing okay. I appreciate the comments, even the ones where people tell me I'm an idiot, in a relatively nice way. Hey, got your click, man. I'll edit that out. All right, so I hope you guys are doing okay. Hopefully next time I'll have some stories for you about how Friday went. My name's Jesse. I'll talk to you later.